here we are again. It's a rainy day. Perfect kind of day to catch up a little bit and talk a little bit, tell a little story about none other than the 78 Broken Dreams farm truck. So as you can see, things are getting a little bit serious, and stuff's disappearing. And yes, we're gonna say goodbye to the old farm truck, but before we do that, you need an explanation. I understand that, and I guess it's been sort of tough for me to make the decision about this, but I guess we can start off and tell a little bit of history on this old thing. So the first thing is there's been a lot of controversy over my YouTube channel throughout the years. I guess not really controversy, but misunderstandings on two different farm trucks, and actually three if you really get down to it. But yeah, so quickly, I mean, not to go deep into detail, like I always get blamed that I do, but so there used to be a 77 C20. That was the original farm truck, and I got rid of it years ago. Basically, it was I was deep into rebuilding and doing a lot of stuff to it, a little bit of a project, and some things changed in my life and things were happening. I had to make a decision, and it didn't fit in with my plans. So I decided that was the end of an era with that, and I really shouldn't even have taken it apart and started really to do the project when I look back, because it was always fine just the way it was. But you make decisions when you're younger, you do things. So anyway, instead of sending it to the scrapyard, I decided to give a friend of mine who was the only person that I would ever want to own it after me. Other than that, unfortunately, I would have rather seen it squashed. So I gave that person the opportunity, a one-time deal, to buy that and all the parts that went with it. There was transmissions, there was engines, there was parts truck, there was a lot of different stuff that went with it anyway. And they took the deal, and he bought it, and it's still alive to this day. But throughout my YouTube videos, if you're following along, when I got this truck, which was about 7 years ago, this is a 78 C10, if you didn't know, and it was there was a time where I only had one square body. I had the 78 Suburban, which I've had forever. It's the longest vehicle I own. But so I had that, and I said, man, I need to buy a square body. I had a car I sold, I made some money, and I was looking for any goddamn square body that I could get my hands on. And I was sitting there one day on the computer, and on one of the groups, this kid that I knew him. I knew who he was, kind of knew him anyway. And he had picked up two trucks. This was one of them. Another one was a 80s rotted out four-wheel drive that I believe he ended up using for parts. But he bought both of them from some guy's yard, an old guy, and he put them on. He put this on there one day. I was sitting there, I seen it. It says, anyone want this farm truck looking thing? And it had a cap on it, which brings me to, we all know the farm truck, street outlaws, we all know that. But one mistake that people made is they thought that when I started calling the original farm truck, the C20, they thought that I was copying the farm truck from the show, from TV. But actually, when I had got that, it was that kind of was just coming out. And the farm truck in Oklahoma, there was YouTube videos surfacing, going viral about him racing people. And actually, it wasn't a very big thing. I did not name that truck after that. It was actually no more than me and my friend. I picked up that truck for $500, and it came from a farm. And the guy said it needed a starter. It was a starter behind the seat, brand new. We were laughing, and we couldn't believe it. The new starter was sitting right there. We bolted it in. The thing started, puffed a little smoke, and the next thing you knew, we were doing burnouts in it. And we kept just saying, let's take the old farm truck. Let's take the old farm truck. That's all we kept saying, because it was an old farm truck. Nothing was even thought of the farm truck on the show. But anyway, that's just a fun little fact for you. So the guy puts this up there. I see it. He says, it's everyone's commenting on it. Just like, it's hard to get something off Facebook. And he says, it's got a 350 in it. Don't know much about it. Kind of runs rough. And this is it. A few pictures. So I had to have it. So I got rid of I just figured I'd bypass all the people that were offering like $500, stuff like that. And I messaged him and I said, hey, you deliver that to me and I'll hand you $1,500 cash. No questions asked, sight unseen. Don't care. I don't need to come look at it, kick the tires. You said it runs. If you can bring it here, deliver it to me, and you hit the key and it runs and pulls off the trailer, I'll hand you $1,500 cash. And he said, you're serious? I sent him a picture of the money. I said, bring it here. I got the money sitting right here. So the next morning, he said, I can bring it tomorrow. Is that all right? I said, yep. So he showed up next day, had it on a trailer, hit the key, it started, drove off. So I got it and I started looking at it, and me and my friend started, he came over, we were looking at it and stuff, and it appeared that it was out of time and stuff like that, and that was the issue on why it was running like that. So I took it for a little ride around the block, and yeah, it was just running terrible. And it turned out that we reached back there, distributor was not even tight, it was just kind of spinning around. There was a lot of little things on it that were a little bit screwed up, and seemed like, it seemed like an engine that was put in and then just like never really finished. Stuff wasn't hooked up and things like that. And it also had stock manifolds and a stock single exhaust with a little tiny 2-inch pipe sticking out the back. And so we started messing around with it, and we got the fire in order, all correct, got the distributor where it went, and got it timed a little better, adjusted the carburetor, and when I was in the cab and I said, man, it's idling, and I was excited. Well, he was out back at the tailpipe and he said, you got to get back here. You got to get back here. So I went back and that little tailpipe was just going like it had a cam, but it was trying to spit out that little 2-inch pipe. So it was pretty hilarious. We laughed and everything about it, had a nice time. But the more we dug and the more we dug into it, it actually was what appeared to be a low mileage rebuilt engine of some sort that was put in it. So anyway, I said, man, this thing need to get the cap off of there. And this is the Broken Dreams farm truck. Came just like it was, had the old cool visor, stuff like that. And from looking underneath, there was a lot of new parts: suspension, brakes, tires, stuff like that. These are the tires that were on it when I bought it 7 years ago. And so that guy that sold it to me, he kind of he ended up getting hold of me a little while after I owned it, and he was like, well, how is that thing? And I told him all about the story about it. And he said, he started telling me an interesting story about, I guess, the old guy that he got it from. It was his brother's, and he had these trucks in his yard, kind of storing them there. And he'd planned on taking a major trip, um, you know, across the country. I don't know, down south or something. And he said he put a lot of money into this truck. He said, but he got sick and he couldn't end up doing that, and he ended up passing away. So he was stuck with the trucks, and he didn't want to look at them. He didn't want to work on them. So it was just, somebody get these out of here and give me an honest offer on them. So that's how he got them. But he also said that, a small story, whether it's true or not, but I'm just telling you what I was told from him, is that the guy said that his brother took it to a local shop that he would have work on his stuff sometimes, stuff that he couldn't do. And he told them, you know, I want an engine. I want, a new engine, but I just want a replacement, just a replacement 350 stock, maybe a good rent 350 or something, just something that, freshen it up and something I can rely on to go for my journey. And it was said that someone somewhere pushed the wrong button and ordered a like a middle of the road GM Performance crate engine. That's why it has the choppy cam and stuff in it. So kind of a cool story. The guy got the truck back, and you know he sat there, and it made sense where the distributor being loose and everything. He was trying to tune this thing to make it run smooth. So him hearing the choppiness of the cam, he thought something was off. So it was kind of hilarious. Whether the story is true or not, it's a pretty cool story. And I don't know. I believe it. I always have believed it. So he gets it back and he's furious at the shop. And, what did you do? Why did you do this? So, um, he puts the stock little manifolds on there and stuff like that. So of course, the first thing I got to do is order a set of headers for it. And I had a set that I had brought from the previous garage that I rented. And I really thought those were Chevy truck headers that were hanging up. And turns out I stuffed those in there, but they ended up, I think they were like G-body headers. So they hit everywhere, and to make them work, to make the exhaust work, it was crazy. I ended up torching the cross member and everything to make it work, and it was just terrible. They rattled and hit everywhere, but I left them on there for, I think, about a year, and then I ended up ordering a set of new ones, which those are right there, actually for this truck. And obviously they went right on there, fit a lot better. Whew. Excuse me. Story is making me thirsty. So, anyway, the story went on where I I had this truck for 7 years, and for about 5, I guess, I ran it. This truck made me a lot of money. It towed cars, it hauled scrap. Um, I moved to Maine, like a lot of people know. I drove it up here. It it actually brought a lot of my stuff, transported my stuff, towed a trailer. Um, the truck just always did what I wanted it to do, and it was cool because it sounded cool. Um, Dave sent me those mufflers, um, still on there, still great. And so I guess at this point, you're saying, why would you get rid of this? Why would you strip it apart? Well, I have some good reason, but the first thing I just want to say is that I guess with what I have so far in my fleet now, trucks that I've got, um, it got to a point where I didn't really, I didn't need to drive this, and it was very easy to take off the road because I got the black truck with the liftgate. You remember the 2010, and that truck already rotted away and had developed all sorts of problems, and it made me a lot of money, but it's already went away and gone. So that truck came, and it was like, I got the dually, I got the Suburban, and eventually I got the ramp truck. But at that time, it was very easy to take off the road because I had a few issues. That one being, I didn't have lights on this, marker lights, running lights, for probably 2 years. I drove it like that. Don't really drive at night that much. Not really a reason to, but on those nights that I was at, my friends or something, or at a shop hanging out, it kind of sucked, to when it was time to go home. I said, man, I got to get home before dark. But the headlights worked, brake lights, you know, but no marker lights. So what that brings me to the first issue of this truck is that the wiring is a total nightmare. Total nightmare. I ended up taking it off the road, and I said, I get to it down the road. Well, I made the same mistake as everyone else, and I never ended up. It's been sitting for probably almost 3 years now. I haven't put it on the road, and I'd started up and stuff, but that was that. So other stuff was the um, the bed. The supports ended up just giving right out. Side of the bed, you say, don't look that bad. The supports underneath gave out. The bed dropped in the back, And as you see the truck going down the road, it's kind of like this. I tried jacking up the bed. I put some wood in there, tried to fix it. And we all know there's no finding a bed for a square body. Uh, you have to be, you got to be a millionaire, you know. I guess that's pretty much when I parked it. And those were some kind of the things that were scourging me about it. But um, I guess within the last year, I've really um, started thinking about, what's the end game for this truck? I start looking at my other vehicles, and I got the dually, which um, it's just a far just better truck. Like it's a one of a kind, 1980s Cheyenne camper special, big block, and I use that truck. It's not just a sit around truck, and I got looking at that, and that's going to need rocker panels, cab corners, some floor work at this point, and that's just because I drive it. I mean, I use it through the winter, stuff like that. It was a couple of winters I didn't, but and then looking at the Suburban, that's gonna need a redo pretty soon. I mean, it's just that's just the way it is. The stuff rusts away, and you got to keep it together. But I really like those. And then I got other vehicles, of course. I got the Ramp truck. I just finished doing a complete um, makeover on that. Rockers, cab corners, floorboards, fenders. Um, and I'll talk about that in another video because we still have to do a whole update on that. But I started thinking about this, and it's like, geez, I got so much stuff in line to do. You know, this truck here needs so much work. It's like by the time I would even get to it, it would just be, it would fall completely apart on the ground, and at that, I mean, what's the sense? And then it was the fact that it's got that nice engine, so I got to take that out. What do I use the engine for? Do I put it in something else? Do I put it in the old 78 Suburban? But yeah, that thing still has a stock 350. It runs perfect. So it was a lot of deciding, things bouncing around in my head, and um, I guess at this point, I'll tell you, there's a lot of things, including some secrets that you don't know about this truck, and I'm going to try to let you know and justify the fact of why this has become a parts truck and will go away. Interrupt here for a second. As I'm having my coffee, editing this video, sometimes I realize that um, I forget to say certain things in the video, but I'd just like to point out that another um, major issue with the truck that always was a problem was the rear main seal leaked like a sieve. Everywhere I went, it leaked so much oil. I had to keep oil in the truck, and of course, to fix that, the engine's got to be pulled. So it sort of goes along with the whole plan of it. Is now I finally get to fix that rear main seal because the engine's coming out. But that was a huge thing. And also on the bed issue, that bed's got to be taken off and thrown away. It's completely garbage. Um, and I did not want to have to go to a flatbed style like everyone does up here in Maine. All the Chevy beds, even the newer ones, rot off. And I never could see the truck with a flatbed. I just didn't want that. I like the look of it with the regular bed. So it was kind of like, well, if there's no way I'm spending thousands of dollars on a bed from, down south or something like that. So that's that. Back to the video. I'm gonna tell you this old C10. There's two good things about this truck, and only two. And it's the fact that it has that engine and it has a solid frame. The rest of it is total garbage. We'll start off by the front fenders. Total junk. Pieced together, hold them together for years. Not even bolted on right. This cab, been cobbled together. Floor, gone. The supports for the cab are totally gone. You take a corner and the cab actually comes off the frame and goes back down. Okay, obvious things. Seat, garbage. Rear window, I broke it out, scrapping. Bed, don't look too bad, you say? Don't look too bad. Maybe a little bit. That corner. Bed's totally garbage. It's all held together back here. It's got bracing. To close the tailgate, you got to have somebody push in on the bed sides, get it to close. This side, rotted. The bed supports I was talking about, they're just gone. You can see the frame already starting to scale back there. So the bed ended up dropping down on this side. You can see how close it is. It's actually on top of the bumper there. So sheet metal, complete garbage, junk. This fender too, got a half-ass patch on it, all bondoed up. That was like that when I got it. You could see the old guy, he just screwed on a cab corner. He just slapped it on there and was like, you know what? I'm going. I'm driving. Living my dreams. But see this floor? It's just, I ended up, it was so bad when I was driving it that that the wife was complaining that stuff was coming up and hitting her in the feet. And it was a little bit windy, so I slapped in an old piece of a wash machine and slapped that in, slapped some, insulation over it, put the rug back down, stuff like that. So wiring, completely garbage. If you saw under the dash, the wiring, it's just like you'd throw up. Something was definitely going on up here. After a couple of months of driving, this whole front end was loosening up and jumping around. Radiator doesn't even belong in it. That was moving and jumping around, stuff like that. Actually, inner fenders, not too bad, and I might actually keep those. But, and then of course, like I said, no lights. No one wanted to touch it. No one wanted to help me. I asked a million times, different people, different friends. I need help. I need help. So there's one other thing that I've never told anyone, and I just kind of kept my mouth shut about it because I really liked the truck and I wanted to keep it and drive it. When I went to register this truck, it wasn't the easiest thing in the world to do. It wasn't. There was a lot of problems with the VIN number, and not to go right into it, but I'm going to tell you one thing. There's the remnants of what you can see of a VIN number up here in this area that just can't see anymore, but there's a VIN number there, there's one there, and there's one on the title. Well, I didn't really get a title with it. I got a an old registration. I think it was from Connecticut or something like that. But that was all I needed, was that in the bill of sale. And I'll tell you the truth is that that VIN number on that title didn't match nothing on this truck. So 3 different VIN numbers, and yeah, I don't know what this truck actually is, but I ended up using that old registration. Maybe it was for this, maybe it was for one of the old guy's old trucks that he had. I don't know. But I got plates, and I got it inspected, and I drove it. And of course, when I got up to Maine, I switched it over. And Maine's very, very lenient on older stuff. You don't need like anything. You just need like a piece of paper that says you bought this and the VIN number, and they just register it for old stuff. But it wasn't a problem. And so yeah, that was always in the back of my head, just kind of not really a good situation. Didn't really matter, I guess, but forgot I had the speakers back there. So then some of you have guessed right, and I got the 79 Monte Carlo. That the car just talked to me, and it's got a history in town and a lot of stories about it. And I don't know, there's just something about the car that I want to get it running, and I want to do something with it. So needs an engine. So it helped me. I could justify plucking this out of here, and how awesome would it be to have the old farm truck engine in the Monte Carlo. So it's already got a turbo 350 in there that, hey, it was driving years and years ago. So I'm going to bolt it up and see if it works. But that's what's happening. And no one's getting the damn thing off of this. Not that there's anything good, but it's just one of those situations. And I hate to have that attitude, but there's a lot of stuff that can be used for other things. And we'll start from the front to the back. I mean, the grill, aftermarket, nice grill, nice bezels. That stuff fits my Suburban, whatever. My 78 Suburban does not have inner fenders. I put new fenders on it and didn't put those on. Maybe one day I want to put inner fenders on it, because I'll never get rid of that. And there's some there. So, of course, we got the engine. Let's see. Oh, this non-AC little heater box. That, pretty sure they don't repop those now. You can't buy them aftermarket. So the one in the old dually up there been rotted out for years by the mice. Don't get good heat. That's gonna fix that. Let's see. I need a goddamn smaller steering wheel for the ramp truck. That's going in. I'm gonna take the shifter. This has a factory tack in the dash. That cluster, that's coming out of there. If I choose to sell it, I can get a pretty penny for it. So there's that. Let's see what else. This old cool visor, not really something you find every day. Oh yeah, I'm keeping that. Keeping these. All the same on the other trucks. The tires, they're still good. Still good. Look at those. Steel wheels, caps, all coming off. Are you still here? You've you've really watched this far. I appreciate that, and hopefully gives you a little bit of a explanation on what's going on with the old farm truck. Yeah, I called it the farm truck. That's right. Hey, it's a truck I own. It's a farm truck, and I choose to call it. Of course, it's not the original, and I don't know that any truck ever would be as good as that original. But you know, you got to start looking at things. You get older, you got these things sitting around. They can't own you. They can't own your thoughts. You know, I I go to sleep at night. I lay there. I try to get to sleep, but I think about all my vehicles and everything I'm doing, my next step, my hustles, my cash, and you know, I get stressed out thinking about all the things that everything needs and stuff I got to do, and my body, my health is it's it's going to get to a point where it's not going to let me do a lot of things. You know, very limited to what I can do these days. So uh, it's time to thin the herd out a little bit and send this one down the road. But um, I don't know, that Monte Carlo. I had one, well, technically two Monte Carlos in my life. Um, I had an '84, and it was just a 305 regular roof, but it was a two door. Well, yeah, they didn't make four door Monte, but um, I liked that car. I drove it around, but we had a lot of G bodies back in the day, and it seems like you can only get like the Cutlasses and you know the you know once in a while a Grand Prix or hell even a Malibu, but it seemed like the Monte Carlos were always just worth a little too much, especially uh, in that body style that year. Um, you know, those were always just a little far out of what we had to spend, which usually we weren't spending more than $500 on a car back then, and we'd throw it together, and we'd be racing around. But I always did want, I always kind of wanted a Monty SS, even though they were underpowered, cheesy, ones with the 305, the ones I'm talking about, not like the stupid Dale Earnhardt ones, but the '80s ones. And I did get one, and unfortunately, by the time I got that one, it was so rotted it couldn't even be put on the road. I had to strip it. I had to strip it and junk it, and it was terrible. But um, I don't know. This car's got a history. It's got the glass T-tops, and I just something about it. So gonna need an engine, and here it is. So at this point, just blabbering on. But you're still here. Crack another one. Let me know what you think, and as always, I appreciate you watching. All these years, been a long time. still on there, and this could be the last time you hear, well, you hear this engine run in this truck, but hopefully not the last time you hear the engine run. Just taps. Just taps. Oh, and I forgot to mention, remember how I magically somehow got all that water in the fuel and it wouldn't run? I made a few videos on it, I think. I don't know. Very discouraging, but somehow it's fixed itself. And I mean, I did put fresh gas, but it's no water in there anymore. I don't know. Maybe it doesn't want to die. Maybe it doesn't want to leave. Still there, still watching. On the street.